Hello, my name is Chameleonish, and today I'll be reviewing A Game of Thrones by George R. R. Martin. First, beware of spoilers. Plot. What was good? Different subplots as well as the main plot felt really interesting and compelling. They worked together nicely to form the story as well as set up for the next book, and they weaved the different characters' stories in beautifully and believably together. What was not so good? Nothing. Literally nothing. Everything was good. Characters. Overall, almost all were interesting, understandable, memorable, and unique. But I decided to put in my top 3 characters and talk a little bit about them. Now, I decided to only use 2 Stark-ish characters. So third, we have Tyrion Lannister. I just love reading from his perspective. His dialogue and his thoughts are just interesting to read about, and honestly, he has some of the best dialogue and character interactions in the entire book. Especially with Jon Snow in the beginning of the story, I loved his interactions with Jon Snow, and he's lovable, believable, witty, etc. I could go on. I just love Tyrion, especially in this book. Jon Snow. Now there are a couple reasons I love Jon Snow. First, I love him as a character. While he is not as interesting as some other characters, what I do love about him makes up for that. He sees himself in this way, he's this bastard of Eddard Stark, and he really sees himself as unfortunate in the beginning of the book. But then he comes to the Night's Watch, and he sees himself as even more unfortunate, that he's so unlucky to be put with all these other people. But then he has this great interaction with Donal Noye, and he kind of gets a wake-up call where he's like, you are the bastard, sure, but a bastard of a high lord, and you think you have it bad? Well, look at all these other people around you, and that really changes his worldview, and I don't know, I just love him from then on, especially. I also love the Night's Watch and the Wall, and it's just such a great environment, and the people around him are really interesting and entertaining. And finally, I love Ghost. Ghost is the best. Such a good boy. Finally, we have Eddard Stark, who, as a character, is phenomenal. I love him. He's great. He's perfect in being imperfect. Not only is he a great person, but also his flaws don't make him any less of a great person, but they make him a much better character. And his death at the end of the first book sends such a clear message that no character is safe, and it really plays with your emotions, because you love Ned, and then his death kills you. So yeah. Next, we have the world. The fantasy aspects are not as prominent as in other fantasy stories, but what we do get is really interesting, and it really is a lot of setup for the future books. In the non-fantasy aspects, what we see of various cultures feels very fleshed out, and Westeros especially is well done, and the history of this world seems really interesting, and while it's not the strong aspect, it's still really well done. Pros. My cup of tea. Need I say more? Overall, the best first book in a series ever. I'm gonna go that far. Best first book ever. It sets up the next book, A Clash of Kings, really nicely, and it's very strong in every aspect, but the characters especially knock it out of the park. Thank you for watching, and until next time, goodbye.